Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for African News with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Liberia tentatively celebrates the progress made in its battle against the spread of Ebola by lifting the state of emergency brought in to curb the epidemic. But the danger's far from over. Mali reports its fourth suspected death from the virus. Also, a string of attacks across Egypt are blamed on jihadist militants. Some, though, warned the government may be jumping the gun by labelling a naval attack that left several servicemen lost at sea a terrorist assault. And celebrating books and illustrations tailored to reflect African culture. Ghanaian organisation Golden Baobab has named its literary prize winners in the field. We speak to one Nigerian author who says there should be more on offer for kids from the continent. First up, Liberia's lifting the state of emergency brought in to help curb the spread of Ebola in the country. Over 5,000 people have died of the disease across West Africa, with Liberia the hardest hit. But it's seen some progress, and the crisis order, which had banned large public gatherings and closed schools, is coming to an end. The danger is far from over, but the rate at which the virus is spreading in Liberia appears to have slowed.
The number of infected people by day is decreasing, but very slowly. So we're now leveling the number of cases. The greater decrease in the first phase that we were seeing as a country has changed, and so we're leveling up now.
Well, Sierra Leone and Guinea are also at the heart of the crisis, and new hotspots continue to pop up. On Thursday, Mali reported a fourth person it believes died of the virus. The outbreak's the worst on record, and though more than 14,000 cases of infection have been recorded, medics fear the true number could be far greater. Faced with the urgency of the crisis, accelerated clinical trials of experimental treatments are due to be rolled out in affected countries as quickly as early 2015.
They've survived Ebola, but soon these recovering patients may be called back to treatment centers to help others. Their blood and plasma contain antibodies that fought off the virus successfully. Scientists want to transfuse them to infected patients, hoping the process will boost their immune system and save them. This is the first time transfusions will be carried out on a significant scale to fight Ebola. It's one of 3 unprecedented treatment trials to be carried out by Doctors Without Borders and their centers in Guinea and possibly in Liberia. MSF and research labs will also try out 2 antiviral drugs.
There are no therapeutics, so the only way we have to diminish mortality is to find new therapeutics. Since there are non-existing, the only choice we have is to look at drugs that have been giving promising effects in laboratory circumstances or in animal models.
The antiviral drugs were selected from a shortlist provided by the World Health Organization, based on considerations such as safety and if they're available in quantity and easy to use. The treatment's results will be known starting February 2015. Research labs are also developing several vaccines against the epidemic, including British lab GSK, scientists in the US and Canada. According to the World Health Organization, the vaccine could be ready early 2015.
The controversy surrounding Gabon's president's birth certificate continues. On Thursday, there were clashes between the police and opposition supporters who say Ali Bongo was born in Nigeria and therefore shouldn't be the country's ruler.
After a few clashes with the police, Gabon's opposition said it had filed a lawsuit regarding Ali Bongo's birth certificate. In a recent book, French journalist Pierre Péan says Ali Bongo is a Nigerian who was adopted during the Biafra War in the 1960s. The opposition says the people of Gabon must not be lied to.
Some say the people of Gabon are nonchalant, that they never react. But this time, it's too much. We want to know the truth.
Bongo's maternal uncle gathered his whole family and the press. He showed a photo of a young Ali Bongo and repeated that Bongo's mother was his sister who sat behind him.
Ali Bongo Ondimba is my nephew. I carried him in my arms just after his mother, here, gave birth.
The presidency is furious. It said it was suing the journalist Pierre Péan for slander.
Well, the Egyptian military is still searching for 8 servicemen lost at sea after a Navy vessel was attacked in the Mediterranean. It's still not clear who's behind the assault. The government's battling an upsurge in Islamist militant attacks. And if the sea raid is proved to be linked to the insurgency, it would be the first time such tactics had been used by its fighters. Well, Sharif Abdel Kudus is in Cairo for us. He joins us now. Sharif, so the government seems to be painting this as a terrorist attack. Does it have much to back this theory up?
Well, what we do know is that a naval vessel about 40 nautical miles off the coast did come under attack by a number of boats. The military called in air and naval reinforcements, and a gunfight ensued. They apparently sunk 4 of the boats and killed 4 of the gunmen. And as you mentioned, 8 seamen are missing and 5 are in hospital. The government does claim that this is part of the terrorism that it's been waging a campaign against. However, a lot of analysts say that given the nature of the attack and where it took place, this is a route that's frequently used by drug smugglers and drug traffickers and migrant smugglers. And given that this came from small boats, small arms were used, that it may have just been a clash between those kind of criminal elements as opposed to political terrorists. So we'll have to wait and see if we can get more information in the coming days.
So Thursday's also seen several other attacks across Egypt, but and they've all been blamed on Islamist fighters. Does it look like the tactics the government's using against them are working?
Well, I mean, the government's waged a so-called war on terror for over a year now, and we've seen attacks escalate in the Sinai Peninsula. We saw one of the most deadly attacks against police and security forces occur last month, with over 31 being killed at a checkpoint attack. We've seen attacks spread from Sinai to Cairo and to the Nile Delta, to the Western Desert. And the government has decided to use increasingly authoritarian tactics to try and clamp down on this growing insurgency, declaring a state of emergency in parts of northern Sinai, a curfew, and creating a buffer zone and destroying hundreds of homes, displacing thousands of people. And really, this is, many think, is perpetuating a cycle of violence and not addressing the core problems that we have here in Egypt. So I think many expect more bloodshed in the coming days.
Thanks very much. Sharif in Cairo is there for us. Well, we're joined now by an author who's just been named as one of the winners of a Ghanaian Literature and Illustration Award that celebrates books tailored specifically for African children. Mary Ononokpono grew up in the UK, but was born in Nigeria, and on Thursday was named as the winner of a Golden Baobab Prize for her story, Talulah, the Time Traveller. She joins us now. Mary, thanks very much for speaking to us. First of all, congratulations. Now,
thank you very much.
Do you think that there's actually a need, though, to specifically pick out literature relevant to African children?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's very important for children to see themselves in popular culture, be that through literature, television programs, films, etc. I think it does wonders for a child's self-esteem and personal development. So I think there's absolutely a need. I think there's been a shortfall just since I was a child anyway. I've not seen the gap get any smaller in terms of books featuring characters that are relevant to African children growing up on the continent and in the diaspora also.
So you've actually won the award for a book that's not even been published yet. Give us a sneak preview. What's it about?
Okay, it's about Talulah, Talulah Taiwo. She's a brilliant girl. She's an inventor, and she's obsessed with coding. She can do all sorts of wonderful things with code. So basically, the book is about her first time traveling adventure. She accidentally stumbles into time travel. So it's all about that, basically.
So what, though, makes it specific to African culture?
Well, the character is a black British child of African heritage, basically. So she's growing up in the African diaspora. Also, when she travels back in time, she ends up going to an ancient African city, basically an ancient Egyptian city. So there's an element of it that's set on the continent itself, but also the character's got Africa in her veins, basically. Even though she's not necessarily had a directly African experience, she's not grown up on the continent herself. I'd say it's very international, it's very global.
And for you, I mean, you're also an illustrator, and you think the pictures seen in kids' books are equally as important as the story?
Absolutely, absolutely. Picture books are basically, they draw children into the world of literature. So a child's first encounter with a book when they're a toddler is probably going to be a picture book. So the pictures are not engaging. If they're static, if they're dated, it's not really going to engage a child and instill within them a love of learning, a love of literature, a love of reading. So yeah, I think images are very, very important. Just even in terms of going into a bookstore, living in the UK, it's very rare that I see books with black children or children of other races, non-white children on the cover, basically. But I think that will do wonders, just in terms of just enabling children to believe that anything's possible. Like if they reach for the stars, they're attainable, basically. It's easier to know that when you see other people who look like you that have already attained something, basically.
Mary?
So I believe that imagery is very, very important.
Mary, unfortunately, I'm going to have to stop you there. That's all we have time for. But again, a massive congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
And thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us. Well, that wraps up African news for now. Stay with us. A short break and more news and headlines from around the world coming up.